Chapter 33, Where There Is Another Fine Mess. Back in the entrance hall, Mo looked around to see where Aaron and Charlotte were. Maybe they are still in Team Blue's room or went to check our own, he thought, and hoped he didn't had to check their own to look for them. Exactly that moment, and without warning, the ground underneath him began to shake and a rumbling echoed through the halls. As it happened, Mo almost fell over and dust rained down from the ceiling. A few seconds later, it was over. Mo stood there, still surprised and shocked about what just happened. "Aaron?" Mo called out and stood there like he was frozen. Moments later, Aaron, Charlotte and Publius, riding on Aaron's back, rushed to him from the team's room. "Did you felt the two?" Mo asked them, still standing in the same position as before. "I believe we should look after the others at the library," Aaron suggested. Mo nodded silently and followed Charlotte and Aaron, who were taking the lead. They found the library in an even worse mess than the rest they saw. It was harder to say what was not destroyed. Tables and shelves shattered, books ripped apart or burned to ashes, and the air filled with dust. Seeing so much knowledge and stories destroyed made Mo sad, and he recalled the time he spent here. Scattered everywhere were Trapinch, all of them knocked out and left where they fell, maybe some still moving a little, moaning in pain and exhaustion. "Hi, everybody," Richard called out cheerily to the group. In the corner of the library, mostly tidied as far as possible, the other missing guild members and Amy's mother and the king sat or stood. This excluded all three members of Team Red, Hilaris and Gengolf. Nia and Richard sat by her father, who had his belly in bandages. Nia herself seemed to be depressed in his presence. One of the Graveler twins sat on top of a flagon, knocked out just like the Trapinch. While the rest of Team Orange and Green and Heidi herself seemed to be fine, except being exhausted. Amy's mother had her right arm in a splint and was treated by Heidi, bandaging her arm. She was clearly in pain. Team Purple joined the group. Publius jumped right off Aaron's back and was happily greeted by his brothers by hugging him. "What happened?" Mo asked Heidi as they arrived. She stopped treating Amy's mother for a moment. "We did everything we could, but they were more than last time," Heidi said. "I actually meant the ground shaking," Mo said. "The guild built a secret exit," Amy's mother spoke up. "The leader of these forces, Furhat, used to be one of the founding members. I used to know him. He and his partner tried to take over the guild, but were eventually banished by the old guild master. Not even I know we had this thing," Heidi added and pointed to a large hole in the middle of the room. "The exit was made in the case of an emergency. A guild member had to break open a certain spot in the library floor, revealing a tunnel leading away from the HQ. Team Red, the guild master and Bao followed Furhat and his remaining minions down the tunnel. We don't know what happened, but Gengolf followed them when it happened," Heidi further explained. "Hello?" a muffled voice called out. It came from the hole. Still having her bandages not properly applied, Amy's mother jumped up and rushed to the hole. Team Purple went with her. "Amy, is that you?" she called out down the hole. A large rock was blocking the way up. "We can't get back up. There is a rock blocking the way." "Right before our way up," Steve answered. "That's me," another voice said. It was Gengolf. "I'm stuck." "Are you freaking kidding me?" Hilarious shouted. Even though he was underground, he was loud and clearly hearable. "You seriously went down, too?" "I wanted to help and thought I would fit." "You stupid clod, you are triple as wide as the tunnel. That's why I told you to stay behind. Why would you even make a tunnel not with a Pokémon my size anyway? From all the guild members we had when the guild was founded, you were the only one that did not found this exit to be necessary. This does not defend my point, Guild Master. And from what happened now, I was right back then." More than 15 minutes later, with the combined strength of the guild members below and the members above, with Aaron managing to hold on to Gengolf's right arm. They were able to free him and thus also the rest. They were covered in brown dust all over. Amy's mother embraced her daughter as well as Axel, with Steve happily standing by them, and even Hilarious showing signs of fatherhood as he also embraced his 3 sons. Mo looked at Gengolf. "What are you looking at?" Gengolf angrily asked. Mo quickly looked away. "Nothing," he said, but inside he was snickering to himself. "Claude. What are we going to do now?" Heidi asked the guild master. "Furhat has escaped. I know where the exit leads to, but by the time we get there, they're already gone. And beside, we got what we need," he answered. "Get everyone that is a guild member and not dead or mortally wounded to the entrance hall." There. Hilarious was interrupted by King Cameli, pushing Heidi aside while holding his daughter by her scarf in his mouth. He put her down in front of him. "Guildmaster Hilarious, now that the trouble is out of the way and my daughter had returned, I want to take her home now," the king spoke. Taking her home? This took Hilarious by surprise. "You can't take your daughter home just like that." "But I want to stay." Nia whined and then got slapped by the pyro. "You stay quiet. Hilarious, I only agreed my daughter to be part of this guild as long as she is kept safe. From what I heard and saw in the last days, especially today, this place is not good for a princess." "She is safe," Hilarious reminded him. By now, they got the attention of all the members in the library. "She was kidnapped, the guild is a mess now, and even I was wounded and struck down in battle. If this guild was in my land, you would lose your head right here and now," Cameli told him. "Don't you dare threaten me." Hilarus stepped closer to the king. "You made a promise, and you did not hold this promise," Cameli said, then untied Nia's scarf with his teeth and threw it away. "Come, daughter." "Stop. Right there," Richard said and stepped forward to the king. "Where do you think you're trying to go?" King Cameli growled at Behuthut. He was immediately intimidated and hid behind Hilarious's legs. "Okay. Yeah, okay. Nia is not going anywhere." Ziggy suddenly appeared at the entrance of the library. He was slowly limping towards the crowd and his many wounds were covered in bandages and plasters. "Nice of you to also show up, even alive," the king jokingly said. "You are the worst of the whole bunch. You talked my daughter into coming with you in the first place." "King, she is safe," Ziggy told him as well, too. "And for how long?" Cameli shouted. "As long as I'm there, as long as Hilarious is there, and as long as Richard is there. They're all good Pokémon. I promised you to keep an eye on her, and that's what I did. Look at her. She's unharmed. That's what you wanted. Because of us, and not because of you." The king looked offended. "Don't talk to me like that just because you two are friends. And that is only because your family has money. You wouldn't be anything without your parents' fortune. You are nothing." "At least I work to get my own fortune," Ziggy defended himself. "You are just king, because your father was, and your grandfather before, and his father before." The king was puffing out smoke from his nose in anger. "And beside," Ziggy went on, "everyone knows you just want Nia to be around so you can marry her to some other loser prince for political reasons." "What?" Aaron exclaimed in shock. Everyone were looking at Cameli. Not losing eye contact, Hilarious slowly pulled Nia towards him, away from her father. Cameli walked over to the Pikachu and looked down to him with smoke still puffing from his nose. "There will be consequences if I only hear one bad word," he said to him, turned around and walked over to Mo, intimidating Aaron now who was standing next to him. "Come, Mo. We're leaving," he told Mimikyu. Mo was confused first. "Eh, why?" Mo asked. "We had an agreement. I'll send someone to get your things later," Cameli reminded him. Camille, what are you talking about? Hilarious stepped in. Meanwhile, behind him, Ziggy helped Naya to put her scarf back on with Richard by their side. I offered your purple-scarfed adventurer a job in my kingdom and he accepted, Camille explained. Now hilarious, Aaron and Charlotte had his eyes on Mo. Mo, is that true? Hilarious asked calmly. Mo felt embarrassed at this moment. He looked up. I said I will, once the current problem is solved, Mo admitted. Why didn't you told us? Aaron asked him, with disappointment in his voice. And I said we'll go once Naya is back, Camille growled. She has returned, my problems are solved and I don't care about this guild whatsoever, and neither does he. Mo silently looked up to Hilarious, who was looking at him as well. Silence. It's up to you to decide, Hilarious said. I can't force you to stay. If you want to leave, go. Mo looked back at Aaron and Charlotte. Both, even Charlotte, were not alright with Mo's choice he had made. Axel, Amy, Ziggy, Naya, Richard, the Poniards, Gangolf and the twins, as well as Bao and Amy's mother were looking at Mo in silence, awaiting his decision. Now, will you hurry up already and come? There is still a lot to do, Camille told Mo, standing majestically behind him. Feeling cold and dizzy, Mo removed his scarf and took a look at it, its fabric, its color. It still smelled like it did the first day. The same smell the other scarves of his teammates had. Mo looked at the pyro and said one special word. No. Camille looked at Mo with wide-open eyes. No? What do you mean, no? Camille shouted. No means, I will stay here, Mo told him and put his scarf back on. I had some time to think about this job, what could await me, what others await of me, and simply said, I don't see myself in this spot. At least not anymore. Especially after what Ziggy said before. To be fair, you just lost all respect I had for you and I believe your kingdom would be better off with a different ruler. In fact, with your behavior it would not surprise me if there will be an uprising soon. Aaron, Hilarious and Ziggy looked very pleased. Unlike Camille, Mo could see the fire rising in his eyes, the smoke turning into fire as well and now also coming out between his sharp teeth. Slowly, Mo realized, for a Mimikyu that doesn't like to talk, he talked too much for his own good. Camille slowly walked toward Mo. Why? You? Little? He suddenly began to run, jumped into the air with his fangs on fire and down to bite down on Mo. Just in time, Charlotte jumped between them and blocked Camille's fire fang attack with her log. Get out of my way. Camille snapped at Charlotte once his teeth were free again. Charlotte jumped up towards the king's face, swung around and gave the pyro a kick against his cheek. Many members gasped of what happened and that Charlotte's kick actually did a lot of damage. The king tumbled to the side and fell to the ground. Everyone looked in surprise at the knocked-down king. Mo even did not notice first that Charlotte hugged him again. Father? Naya asked, worrying about her dad. Camille slowly rose up again, still dizzy from the kick. Your Highness? Hilarious asked. Camille looked puzzled to the ground and spat out one of his fangs. Getting fully back to his senses, he looked at Charlotte. Mo first thought he was looking at him and hid behind Charlotte in fear. I remember my late father, the former king. He once got in a fight with an ambassador from another kingdom, a Kamala. She was the only one I ever saw who managed to beat my father in battle. You remind me of this ambassador, young one. Camille looked back at Hilarious. I hope this will not be the last time we see each other. He told Hilarious and begged him goodbye, turned around and walked away, not looking back at his daughter, Mo or Charlotte. Later, while everyone was busy preparing for the briefing, Mo wanted to take a look at Camille's missing fang he had left. In the end he could not find it again. If someone had picked it up while no one was looking,